Welcome to Proven and Probable. I'm Maurice Jackson, and I'm delighted to have you here today. Before we begin today's video, make sure you give us a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section below. And as always, we thank you for your continued support. Welcome to Proven and Probable. I'm Maurice Jackson, and joining us for a conversation is Michael Dufresne of Grizzly Discoveries, a battery and precious metals company located in the Greenwood and Republic districts in British Columbia. Mr. Dufresne, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Maurice. It's good to have a chat again. It's been a while.
Well, it's great to have you back on the program. We have a lot of catching up to do before we begin. For someone new, sir, please introduce us to Grizzly Discoveries.
Sure. Grizzly Discoveries is a junior mineral exploration company that's based out of Canada. They have been exploring the Greenwood/Republic district for a number of years, going on 15 years now, and have about 170,000 acre package of mineral rights that is highly prospective for battery and precious metals.
To better appreciate the Grizzly value proposition, let's add some context before we get into the contents of this week's exciting press release. Mr. Dufresne, there are a number of significant developments occurring both with Grizzly Discoveries and within the Greenwood Republic districts, which is quietly and quickly attracting some prominent names in the natural resource space. What can you share with us?
Yeah, so since we last talked, I think we were in competition for a bid on what was called the old Golden Dawn project, or the Lexington mine and mill that was owned by Golden Dawn and went into bankruptcy. Our bid was unsuccessful, but we are now finding out who the group was that's acquired it, and it seems to be it's a new company called Phoenix Copper. And it has the Assoas Indian Dam, Rivi, which was the main lender to the project, and the JDS engineering group of companies, I believe, are involved in the acquisition of the mine and mill that was the Lexington Golden Crown project, and we're pretty excited about that. We have a good relationship with all the groups.
Now, if you can, you referenced JDS Mining. For some of us, may not be aware of them because they're not a publicly traded company, yet they have a significant impact in the space. Can you expand on them for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. They are a pretty significant mining engineering company that works all around, particularly North America, but worldwide. I think they're involved in aspects of railways. They're in mines. They're in a number of engineering, resource-related engineering fields. And they have experience in putting mines into production and doing the engineering for them. And I see this as a real significant boost. They are a highly professional group with a lot of professional engineers that can do nothing but add value to the project.
So now that we're up to speed on the district, Mr. Dufresne, take us on to your Motherlode Project, where Grizzly Discoveries released an update on the acquisitions of the Motherlode Crown Grants Greenwood Precious Metals Battery Project in BC. Sir, what are the strategic importance of the Motherlode Grants?
Sure. Grizzly has mineral titles act ground all around it and on top of the Crown Grants. These Crown Grants predate the province of British Columbia, and they're essentially private land, much like patented ground in the United States. They're the Canadian equivalent. And they come with the ownership is over 130 years old, like I said before, the British Columbia was a province. And the beauty of the patented ground, or the Crown Grants, as we call them in Canada, is that they because they're private ground, they come with fairly simplified pathway to get into production or to do things like drilling that don't necessarily require the full permitting that you would on public land. And so we're pretty excited about it. And the reason these Crown Grants are around is because they host 4 or 5 or 6 old copper gold mines that were producing in the early 1900s in the Greenwood district.
Now, there were a number of exploration highlights. And what does that share about the future prospects of the Motherlode Crown Grants?
Oh, we've coveted this ground for 15 years. They are host to probably some of the best targets in the entire 170,000 acre package. The old Motherlode pit, the Sunset pit, and the Greyhound pit. There were several million tons that were produced out of those at the turn of the century and into the 1960s. And they produced copper. They were one of the reasons for the 3 copper smelters in the Greenwood area. And of course, no work's been done on them since the 60s. And so they represent, as you can well imagine, some fairly high grade, but some pretty expansive exploration and mining targets that really nobody's done anything with in a long time.
Now, I saw some of those samples. They recovered or recorded, I should say, over 1% copper. Is that correct?
Yeah, and look, they're selective grab samples, but they are a fair representation of a lot of the ore that actually remains in the ground in the Motherlode and Sunset pits. Those pits are littered with that material, both in the walls and on the floors of the pit. And it's quite evident that not all the ore has been removed from those ore bottoms.
Now, the Motherlode, along with a number of other projects there that you have historic resources. They need to get caught up to the current NI 43-101 standards. How do you plan to leverage the historical data with modern exploration?
Well, one of the beauties of this project is the historical data has been preserved. There are drill sections and assay results going back 50, 60, 70 years, both underground and from drilling. And, now that we've actually acquired these Crown Grants, we are going to be updating and producing a beautiful 3-dimensional model, which they wouldn't have had the opportunity to do back in the turn of the 19th century. And we can already see exploration targets coming out of that to not only sort of confirm the potential ore that was left behind, but we see opportunities for expansion. And the Greenwood district was not a trivial copper producer. In the Phoenix pit produced over 500 or 600 million pounds of copper. Motherlode produced about from memory, produced about 60 million, 80 million pounds of copper. So, I think there's a lot more that could be produced, and this is going to give us a real leg up on exploration there.
Speaking of that, how about the Sunset areas? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's just a very small pit, and it actually, the mineralization from the Motherlode pit connects over to the Sunset pit. They're about 1 kilometer apart, but there's underground workings, and we intend to drill out those underground workings both underneath the pit and all along the body, the deposit that goes over to the Motherlode. The Sunset's got some pretty spectacular copper and gold in some of the samples, and it's coming right out of the walls there, so it's plainly evident. And it only had it was pretty small producer. It hasn't been so there's a fair bit of material left behind there that could actually be produced.
Now, your projects also consist of some tailings. Is that correct?
That's correct. So actually, we have the old maps. There was a fantastic report put together in the 50s that actually mapped out all what they called at the time the low-grade stockpiles and then the tailings. And there are resources. Part of our legacy of mining over 130 years is that there's a bit of a mess there. And one of the things we hope to do is potentially drill out and sample the old tailings, which are dried. There's nothing wet there. There's no water issues. But sample the tailings and sample these low-grade stockpiles and potentially ship them off, use some modern technology like XSort to sort of concentrate the material, the better material, and ship it off to a mill to produce a copper, gold, silver concentrate out of. And that would be that you could achieve a couple things with that. Not only the cleanup of the area, which you can make some money at it while you're doing it. And that really strikes to the heart of one of our partners, which is the Assoas Indian band that we've talked to extensively about this.
Yeah, speak about the Assoas, because you have a great relationship with them, which is paramount, absolutely paramount.
Yeah. So we've been working in the district since 2009. We've been in consultation with the band, and in particular, Chief Clarence Louis. He is the band and Chief Louis are very progressive. They're good businessmen. We've employed people off the First Nations, and we'll be putting together some agreements with them in principle to help us get through the environmental permitting aspects of mining here, but also to help us with the mining and be participants in it. And they're very progressive, and we look forward to an excellent future relationship with them.
Now, before we leave the project site, can you share if any work is being currently conducted?
We're currently just doing desktop type studies. Once we've actually got our hands on the mineral claims, which is they're just being transferred now. We are putting together the model and the drilling plans. We're going to be adjusting. We actually have a land use permit to drill already. We're going to be modifying it and adding new drill holes that are going to help test the Motherlode, Sunset, and even the Greyhound pit area. So mostly desktop. We can, I know the Phoenix Copper guys are up there, and they're clearing roads and potentially talking about drilling. And we hope to be drilling in the next 3 to 6 months as well.
Oh, that was my next question. So you stole my thunder, because I wanted to know, what are the goals for the next 3 months?
Yeah. So the goals are obviously to get the Crown Grants transferred, get our land use permit adjusted. And that's a beauty. Some of these land use permits in British Columbia, southern British Columbia, have been taking a year or two. We already have a permit, and getting a notice change where we haven't drilled all the holes underneath that permit yet. So we should have no problem giving them a map and say we want to drill here and getting the permission to do it. It should be pretty simple and quick process. So, we're going to be planning for drilling and hopefully hit the road running in, say, March or April.
Now, in terms of leaving the project site, let's go into the corporate office, if we may. How are you looking in terms of capital right now?
Yeah, Grizzly's, they're a little thin on capital, so we're definitely going to be doing a financing. We need money to drill, and we're hoping to drill 2,000 to 3,000 meters, which is, going to be on the order of $500,000 to $1 million to accomplish. So we're into conference season here, the roundup. The VRIC and roundup start this weekend in Vancouver, and the PDAC in March. And we're going to be hitting the pavement and looking for funds.
All right, sir. Last question, and that is, what did I forget to ask?
I think you got pretty much the gist of everything. I think at the end of the day, this is one of the excellent districts to work in British Columbia. With the new rules that are coming in with staking, having 170,000 acres in southern British Columbia is going to be such an advantage and quite an asset actually going forward. So that's about it.
Well, Mr. Dufresne, if somebody wants to learn more about Grizzly Discoveries, please share the website address.
Yeah, sure. It's www.grizzlydiscoveries.com.
Mr. Dufresne, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Wishing you the absolute best, sir.
Take care. Thanks, Maurice, and you have a great evening.
The information presented on Proven and Probable is provided for educational and informational purposes only, without any express or implied warranty of any kind, including warranties of accuracy, completeness, or fitness for any particular purpose. The information is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice, or any other advice. You should not make any financial, investment, or trading decision based on any of the information presented without first undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional broker or competent financial advisor.